In the headlines tonight, Ethiopia has registered remarkable macroeconomic achievements during the concluded fiscal year. The United Nations Office for Project Services lauded Ethiopia's unfettered humanitarian assistance. Good evening to you all. A very warm welcome to ETV News. I'm Grum Tariku. The 2021-22 macroeconomic performance meeting has kicked off today. Speaking on the occasion, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said Ethiopia has registered remarkable macroeconomic achievements during the concluded fiscal year.
ዓላማ ሁለት ነው። አንደኛው በዚህ ዓመት ከፍተኛ
This meeting has two objectives. First, this year we have registered remarkable economic achievements during this fiscal year. It's necessary to celebrate this economic achievement together. Secondly, we have planned an elastic economic plan to the coming year. This is critical to recognize this year's performance to implement the new economic plan.
The Prime Minister also underlined that institutions have been identified to evaluate the macroeconomic performance report seriously.
We are identified some institutions to evaluate macro reports. These institutions will continue to present macro reports to responsible stakes. If it is necessary, we can meet and discuss on macroeconomic reports within 6 or 12 months. That is the reason we are opening this meeting today.
Ethiopia's Minister of Defense reaffirmed that the nation's commitment to scale up efforts to ensure peace and stability in the world and the Horn region. The Minister, Abraham Belai, made the remark during the China-Africa Ministerial Peace and Security Forum organized by China. The minister indicated that now is the time to work in cooperation with peace forces to find remedy to security problems staring the globe in the face. He explained that Ethiopia, the beacon of an ancient civilization, is working hard to solve African problems in Pan-Africanist spirit. But I expressed his respect and admiration for the role being played by China to ensure peace and stability across the globe by following an inclusive and balanced approach. Over 50 ministers and representatives of the African Union participated in the second China-Africa Ministerial Peace and Security Forum, which was held under the theme Strengthen Solidarity and Coordination to Ensure Common Security. The United Nations Office for Project Services, UNOPS, lauded Ethiopia's resolve to reach out to the people of Tigray by ensuring unfettered humanitarian aid. Talking to ETV here today, UNOPS Sub-Regional Director Worknesh McConan disclosed that Ethiopia's government $300 million pacts are not only to reconstruct Tigray, but also to rehabilitate other areas affected by the conflict. Binyam Alamayo presents Goshumel South File.
The Ethiopian government has time and again expressed resolve to find a peaceful remedy to the war in Tigray. It thus declared unilateral ceasefire on 2 occasions while expressing the need to talk with the leadership of the TPLF unconditionally. The World Bank and the federal government of Ethiopia have signed an agreement worth $300 million to reconstruct the state of Tigray. Talking to ETV English, Sub-Regional Director for the United Nations Office for Project Services, Worknesh McConan, made it clear that the deal adequately addresses reconstruction efforts in war-torn Tigray.
First of all, the $300 million that has been signed between the government of Ethiopia and the World Bank covers 5 war-affected regions in Ethiopia, including the Tigray region. So it's very important to clarify that it covers the Amhara, Afar, Oromia, Benishangul Gumuz, and the Tigray region. So the $300 million is going to be for these 5 regions. That clarity is very important. And the second one And this out of this $300 million, UNOPS is going to be a third-party implementing partner only in Tigray region. The rest of the regions are going to implement it themselves directly. And it's very important to understand why a third-party implementing arrangement is opted for is because of the current problem between the central and the regional government.
During the past 6 months, Ethiopia and international partners have delivered medicines and medical supplies worth a total of 71 million birr to Tigray state, according to the Ministry of Health. The sub-regional director lauded Ethiopia's efforts to ensure unfettered humanitarian aid to Tigray.
I think there is a huge development and progress in terms of reaching out, including to places like Wag Humra, and then a recent assessment in Humera area, including those places that have not been accessible so far. So overall, I think it's a very, very promising and really encouraging progress when it comes to humanitarian response across all the areas that are in need, not only war-affected areas, but also including the drought-affected areas. At the moment that I think it's a very, very commendable.
The Ethiopian government launched a military operation against the TPLF rebel group in November 2020 in response to the TPLF's brutal assault on a federal army base. The 16-month-long war has claimed the lives of tens of thousands of people and displaced millions. The UNOPS representative told ETV that they are undertaking preparations to launch reconstruction activities in 5 selected districts.
It's not even a month since we signed this project agreement, but we have already, the UN is already on the ground, so we have multiple UN agencies that are currently working on the ground. We have already established our office and we have our team. We're currently deciding on this 5 selection of the warriors, and the coming few months we'll be starting on the rehabilitation reconstruction work.
The UNOPS focuses on restoration of basic social services, and other UN agencies are working in rehabilitating gender-based violence.
An Ethiopian delegation led by Labor and Skills Minister Muferiat Kamil discussed with Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister Idon Roll in Tel Aviv on ways of cementing ties between the two countries in job creation and innovation. The delegation is composed of some tech starters drawn from several parts of Ethiopia, while leaders of public institutions, private sectors and academicians from the Israeli side briefed the delegation. The starters had an opportunity to share experience from Israeli entrepreneurs who are engaged in various businesses. Ethiopian Chief of Staff of Armed Forces Field Marshal Birhanu Jula has sent a congratulatory message in connection with the 95th anniversary of the establishment of the Chinese Defense Forces. In his message, the Chief of Staff expressed his appreciation for the good role played by the Chinese Defense Forces in safeguarding the country's sovereignty, peace and interests, as well as ensuring stability to the world. Field Marshal Jula noted that China and Ethiopia are countries that have a long history of relationship. The Chief of Staff further pointed out that the two friendly countries have attained a high level of cooperation in military diplomacy, adding efforts are underway to take their cooperation to a higher level. The ambassador of New Zealand to Ethiopia, Michelle Upton, says his country is desirous to exert more efforts in strengthening its bilateral relations with Ethiopia in various sectors. The ambassador, Michelle Upton, recalled that New Zealand was on Ethiopia's side in 1936 at the League of Nations when Ethiopia exposed fascist Italian invasion. Daniel Casaun has more on this.
Talking to ETV, the ambassador of New Zealand to Ethiopia, Michael Afton, recalled that New Zealand was on Ethiopia's side in 1936 at the League of Nations when Ethiopia complained about the fascist Italian invasion.
Around 1936, New Zealand supported the Ethiopia in the League of Nations, and we stood against the lifting of sanctions against Italy when they had invaded Ethiopia. So the connections go back a long way. In New Zealand, we have a strong, vibrant Ethiopian diaspora. They're helping to build that social bridge between our countries.
The ambassador also says his country is desirous to exert more efforts in strengthening its bilateral relation to Ethiopia in various sectors.
We have a warm relation with the government and the people of Ethiopia. We want to continue to build that relationship, and I think of things during my time, but also we think of katakitanga, which means stewardship, and we think in terms of 10 years, 20 years and 30 years.
He also indicated feasible plans are in the pipeline to spearhead bilateral relations of the two countries with planned short and long-term documents.
It's early days yet. 1 year is a short time. As well as being accredited to Ethiopia and the African Union, I also have 7 other accreditations. So we in New Zealand we talk about number 8 wire. We have to be creative and ingenious and stretch our resources. I think for here, my time in Ethiopia, I'm very pleased with the connections I've been able to make, both with the government, but also in the business, civil society, and also I guess in the business sector as well.
The ambassador has also wished peace and security for Ethiopia in the times to come to ensure its aspired plan of prosperity.
The Russian Federation expressed commitment to cementing ties with Ethiopia aimed at addressing security. Disregards. Russian ambassador to Ethiopia, Evgeny Teklerhin, announced that his country valued the age-long relations with Ethiopia and would exert utmost efforts to the bilateral ties with regard to trade and economy. Kasaun Chane reports.
The Russian Federation is committed to further bolstering ties with Ethiopia through unwaveringly supporting efforts aimed at addressing regional and global security challenges.
Well, there is no secret that relations between our two countries are of mutual respect and partnership nature, based on traditions of friendship and mutual assistance. Our countries and peoples have been linked for dozens of years, and we intend to strengthen these links even furthermore. Recently, we have been actively conducting a dialogue at the political level. We are striving to develop our close cooperation in economic, humanitarian and other fields.
The ambassador further underscored that his country valued its traditional relations with Ethiopia and Ethiopians, underscoring the government of the Russian Federation would exert utmost efforts to the bilateral ties with regard to trade and economy heedfully.
We are also making every effort to increase cooperation in trade and economic areas, an important tool of which is the Russian-Ethiopian Intergovernmental Commission on Economic, Scientific and Technical Cooperation and Trade. A virtual meeting of its co-chairs was held this spring, and we hope to hold a meeting in person during the coming fall in Addis Ababa. Our bilateral relations have great potential, and we are making every effort to realize it fully.
Russian ambassador to Ethiopia merely noted that Russia-Africa summit held in Sochi in 2019 has graciously allowed them to carefully outline modern formats and key areas for constructive interstate interaction. It was also noted that Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed his heartfelt greetings on the occasion of Africa Day, which has become the symbol of victory of the peoples of the continent over colonialism and the aspirations for independence, peace and prosperity.
Ethiopian Public Health Institute EPHI and the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention CDC virtually signed a memorandum of understanding with the aim of enhancing and strengthening their mutual support and collaboration in their disease control and prevention system. Speaking on the occasion, the newly appointed Director General of the Chinese CDC, Professor Shen Hongbing, reaffirmed the Chinese CDC's commitment to provide all the necessary assistance and to enhance and strengthen its cooperation with EPHI. Similarly, EPHI Director General Masai Hailo, on his part, expressed his happiness and thanked all the parties who contributed to the success of the partnership between the two institutions and noted that he and EPHI will stay committed to see this partnership come to fruition. The Ministry of Industry today inked an agreement with the Ministry of Innovation and Technology to work together in the provision of electronic services. The agreement is set to enable development of manufacturing industries and digital services to achieve the expected results. This agreement enables 10 of the services provided by the Ministry of Industry to be digitalized. Johannes van Town has more on this.
The agreement is expected to significantly increase the competitiveness of manufacturing industry. The agreement was signed by the Industry Minister Melaku Arlebel and by Belete Molla, the Minister of Innovation and Technology. During the agreement, the Minister of Industry said that digitalization of services will facilitate efficiency and convenience of services, coupled with the fact that the system is expected to break free of corruption.
This agreement helps streamline our relationship on a more institutional level. Furthermore, the newer system will also facilitate accountability on a more solid basis.
The Ministry of Innovation and Technology said digital services will significantly contribute to establishing transparency and accountability in government services, thus reducing abuse of power on citizens, digitizing information and increasing industrial productivity.
አምራች ዘርፉ ብቻ ሳይሆን ከሌሎች መንግስታዊ ተቋማትም ከኢንዱስትሪ ሚኒስቴር ብቻ ሳይሆን
Our institution is not only with the Ministry of Industry, but also with other governmental and non-governmental institutions. We will continue our efforts for better productivity.
ሁኔታ ለመፍጠር አሁንም ቃላችን እናድሳለን። በዚሁ አግባብ ከኢንዱስትሪ ሚኒስቴርም ጋር በጋራ ለመስራት ዝግጁ
The Ministry of Innovation and Technology envisions a system where government services are provided online and hands them over government institutions. The Ministry of Industry has launched the provision of 10 services online following the footsteps of the Ministry of Innovation and Technology, following which the number of government services provided online has reached 319.
Lake Langano is located in Ethiopia and Oromia region, exactly 200 kilometers by road south of the capital Addis Ababa, on the border between the East Shewa zone and Arisi zone. And there are many hotels and resorts that you can find by the lake. This one in particular is 149 kilometers closer to the city Addis Ababa. When you come to Langano, I also recommend you to visit Shala and Abiata National Parks. There you will find more than 70 types of wild animals, and you get to visit Shala and Abiata lakes.
Welcome back, and you are watching ETV News. And finally, China is planning to ramp up large-scale military drills around the self-ruled island of Taiwan, which began as U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi flew into Taipei for a visit that has angered Beijing. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taiwan late on Tuesday, becoming the highest-ranking American official in 25 years to visit Taiwan. Pelosi pledged that Washington will not abandon Taiwan. Tigers Tarnisa has more on this.
Taiwan, officially known as the Republic of China, ROC, is an island separated from China by the Taiwan Strait. It has been governed independently of mainland China, officially the People's Republic of China, PRC, since 1949. Beijing asserts that there is only one China and that Taiwan is part of it. It views the PRC as the only legitimate government of China, an approach it calls the One China principle, and seeks Taiwan's eventual unification with the mainland. The United States maintains a robust unofficial relationship with the island and continues to sell defense equipment to its military. Beijing has repeatedly urged Washington to stop selling weapons to and cease contact with Taipei. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi arrived in Taiwan late on Tuesday, becoming the highest-ranking American official in 25 years to visit Taiwan, which is estimated to escalate tensions. In her meeting with Tsai at the presidential office, Pelosi called Taiwan an expression to all freedom-loving people, saying, "The world faces a choice between democracy and autocracy. America's decision to preserve democracy here in Taiwan remains ironclad." Tsai similarly praised the partnership between both places, saying Taiwan remained a trustworthy and reliable partner of the U.S.
We have to show the world, and that's one of the purposes of our trip, to show the world the success of the people of Taiwan. Their courage to change their own country to become more democratic.
China had said the visit would cross a red line, and Biden administration officials had warned the House Speaker against it.
Most American leaders see this as a dangerous provocation and a reckless act on her part. Congress has been very quiet in the United States when it comes to foreign policy. They've been willing to open the floodgates of funding, whether it's for any of the wars the U.S. gets involved in or the wars the U.S. supports, but Congress has not been actively involved in policymaking when it comes to foreign policy. So the fact that she would assert herself this way at this time, in a way that seems to go against U.S. interests, really.
China says its military will not sit idly by while Pelosi visits Taiwan.
如果佩洛西众议长访问台湾，中方必将采取坚决应对和有力的反制措施，捍卫自身的主权和领土完整。至于是什么措施，如果他敢去，那就让我们拭目以待吧。
Within an hour of Pelosi's arrival, China announced that the People's Liberation Army will conduct a series of live-fire military drills in the air and at sea around Taiwan later this week, warning ships and aircraft not to enter the affected areas. China rises to superpower status in partnership with Russia at one of the most significant inflection points in centuries. It is to be recalled that former British Prime Minister Tony Blair recently threw a rather bold remark noting that the Ukraine war shows that the West's dominance is coming to an end.
The biggest geopolitical change of this century will come from China, not Russia. We are coming to the end of Western political and economic dominance.
The word that Blair said was a turning point in history comparable with the end of World War II or the collapse of the Soviet Union. But this time, the West is clearly not in the ascendant.
Over now to a quick reminder of the headlines. Ethiopia has registered remarkable macroeconomic achievements during the concluded fiscal year. The United Nations Office for Project Services lauded Ethiopia's unfettered humanitarian assistance. Well, you have been watching ETV News. Thanks for your company and have a great time.